And we begin here. Governor Tim Walz may not be running for re-election anymore, but the colossal fraud scandal, which is plaguing his administration, refusing to go away. And now investigators have followed the money trail directly to the Minnesota governor's doorstep. According to a shocking new report, over the years, a number of people who operate highly questionable Somali-run daycare centers have made sizable personal contributions to Walz's prior gubernatorial campaigns. The report claims the governor received a total of nearly $10,000 in combined contributions from the individuals and goes on to point out that their alleged business operations, they all took painstaking efforts to make themselves appear legitimate despite evidence to the contrary. The accusations leveled at the contributors include claims that some of the people involved ran multiple organizations simultaneously, which received taxpayer-funded state payments, even though they had no digital footprints at all and were allegedly located in unusual locations, things like crumbling strip malls or even run-down private homes. It all sounds kind of creepy. Furthermore, when these mom-and-pop organizations were ultimately investigated, the state's Department of Human Services cited several of them for failing to live up to the most basic professional standards, including a number of incidents related to the extremely poor care of patients. That's the best-case scenario. According to the report, one company recently admitted they had no skilled caregivers available at all, and the list goes on and on. In the meantime, as can be expected, the White House has finally had more than enough of Walz's antics, and they say now the governor is responsible for turning the land of 10,000 lakes into the land of 10,000 Somali schemes. That's got to sting just a little bit. They also say that at a minimum, President Trump personally believes the governor is criminally liable for both his alleged bungling of the fraud scandal as well as his pitiful attempt to get it under control. As a result, they say 47 has now ordered the Justice Department to finally get to the bottom of the matter and once and for all. In the meantime, Governor Walz refusing to go down without a fight. That's fine, but he'll be Mike Tyson in last year's Jake Paul beatdown. Not going to be pretty. He says Minnesotans are currently under assault by a petty and vile administration, that he's going to spend his remaining time in office trying to make things better, and that it's now time for his Republican rivals to put up or shut up. They're going to put up when it comes to their attempt to turn him into the bad guy. Hey, look, Republicans didn't do that. Mr. Walz did that all on his own. Final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. At the very least, when you're a sitting governor and campaign donations, they start pouring in, usually kind of a good idea to know who's writing the check and maybe even why. In other words, are people ponying up the dough in exchange for some kind of favor? And I think they call that one quid pro quo. Now, perhaps this is an honest mistake, and maybe he truly didn't know where the big bucks were coming from, but the metrics, they don't look good. $10,000 worth of greenbacks finding a place in the campaign coffer speaks poorly to how to well manage a legitimate campaign. At the very least, he should be at least mildly embarrassed. Here at the Big News Roundup, we understand it's a bit cumbersome to account for every dollar that comes into the Walz gubernatorial love lounge, but, with just a bit of detective work, it can't be that difficult to figure out who's doing the funding, and even easier to determine if the money is a donation, a bribe, or something else altogether. Pay no attention to me. I'm just thinking out loud. The way I see it, the governor of any U.S. state is the chief executive officer of that state. And if the CEO can't even oversee the management of a campaign, then how can he be trusted to run the entire state? Fortunately, two-term Minnesota Governor Tim Walz won't be returning for Act 3. He'll not be running for a third term as the honest, forthright, and talented governor. And that means that, the Timinator has just been exterminated.